There we go. Now, where were we before we were interrupted? So we were at yeah, why differences. So again, why do we have all these differences between human beings? Then, or why would we even be, you know, why is it even in our genetic code to have those differences? Yes. The reasoning is because we need a lot of different kinds of people in societies, and you need those changes to happen pretty quickly a lot of times. You need, even within a family, I mean, you need different kinds of people to pop up. So that's the reason why we have the mental variability built in to have every generation. And the other thing is the facial one. Why we have genetic hotspots and the genes that are responsible for the facial characteristics of a person. Well, that's because we're social creatures, and as social creatures, we need to be able to identify all the different members and human beings that we come across. So we have the face. Another higher species that has the same type of phenomena are bonobos. Bonobos have a lot of facial variations, and it's because they're very, very social apes. They're probably the most social. They live in very large groups of 800 or so sometimes. So like basically like, you know, a small town in any country of the world of humans is about the same size as a bonobo tribe or group, and so they need to have, like, whereas chimps, which are very, very genetically similar to bonobos, monkey or apes, chimpanzees are very similar to them, and bonobos are bonobos, and chimps are very similar to us. Chimps are slightly more so genetically, but it's pretty darn close, and in a lot of ways probably the other bonobos are probably actually closer to us in probably like what's going on up in their heads, because of the fact that they're so much more social. So yeah, again, they have that social need to have variation within faces, you know, so even within families and such like that, so that all the various people within the family can identify the others, and the people in the tribe can identify the differences in all those people from that particular family of the apes. And so that's important because humans, you know, we need to know, okay, that guy's gonna get my back, that guy, you know, cheated me, this guy's gonna help me out with this. You need to have all those you need to have the ability to make all those judgments, and the way you can do that is if you can tell who it was that had been your friend or foe in the past, or is through having some kind of an identifier, which is, you know, your face. And that's why no two faces of human beings are generally very close. I mean, sometimes it happens, you know, because there's just so much facial variation, you know, so you can have some people that look alike, but they're usually, believe it or not, but sometimes they're not in the same family. Sometimes it's very distant. Sometimes they're not even. There's quite a bit of distance in that, and it's because of the fact that you have all those variations in those genes. Within the variability happens every generation. So that's why we have our differences. What about our similarities? Well, we all have the innate ability to learn a language, or pretty much all of us, unless you have some kind of again like a retardation. Like there's a K family in England, and that's how they actually found the genes for this stuff, FOXP2 or whatever the heck it is, that was unable to form grammatically logical sentences or something like that. They could know what the words mean. They could, you know, do very well on lots of other different, you know, tests. They had average IQ or even above average in some cases, but they weren't able to speak coherently, and the reasoning was because they had a defect in this gene that all human beings on the planet have a successful copy of. And it probably wasn't always the case that human beings had that. You know, maybe a lot of people were like the K family thousands, hundreds of thousands of years ago, and then, you know, this variant of the gene popped up, and ever since then human beings, you know, basically wherever people had that ability, they were more successful than all the other human beings in that group. So probably, you know, killed them off, or just out reproduced, or just a lot more successful. So we all have that innate language gene, pretty much. And what else do we have for similarities that are, you know, kind of, that you don't usually think of, that are very important actually, and in determining, I guess, what's going on inside of our heads. So yeah, those capacities for understanding of the words and everything like that. We have very similar genes in a lot of other areas too. But I think that that's the big one, is the fact that we can all speak and understand from, you know, if you learn the language, you know, then you can speak it and you can understand it and make logical sentences and such. Another interesting thing, kind of going with that innate gene thing, is like if you were to take any human beings from any part of the world and put them in an area of the world where there's like children, I should say, not human beings. You take some children from China and you stick them in France. What you'll find is they'll be able to learn French just as well as any French kids. If you take, you know, French kids and Chinese kids and Spanish kids and you know, Egyptian kids, and you throw them all together, and you know, have